Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I'm your host, Ben, and hey, we're happy to have you back, and we are happy that you could join us here. It's Friday, everyone, and we're going to relax. We're going to have a fun show. Second part of the program, computer and technology news. And it's going to be full of very fun articles, very fun news, and we're definitely going to talk about how maybe for one of the first times that a AAA title has been pulled from the PlayStation Network store. Pretty unprecedented, but CyberPunk 2077. And I've seen some people compare it to No Man's Sky and other such games, and I got to say that. I mean, I said this earlier in the week that no game, regardless of what game it was, no game could live up to the hype that they somehow managed to get themselves. And unless it was literally an alternative reality Matrix style, I doubt that anyone would have been satisfied with what was marketed to them. But regardless, that's in the second part of the show. In the first part of the show, though, we have a very fun guest. And you may recall earlier this year, we actually talked to him before this whole thing with COVID. And you know what? We decided to have him back on. Very happy to. And everyone, we're going to be talking about Hearo.Live. And if you don't recall them, then hey, you're in luck, because we are going to discuss everything about them with the company's CEO. It's going to be a fun interview. Stick around for that. So computeramerica.com, that's where you'll find everything, past shows, future shows, all the shows, show notes and more, as well as articles, reviews, topics, podcasts, of course, links to social media, anything that we do here at Computer America, you can find on our website. So with that being said, I think the last thing I should probably mention is that this week is the last week of full shows. And then next week, we will be doing a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday show. Thursday, we have off. And then all the way over to January, I believe 4th or 3rd. Monday, January 4th, we'll be back with let's face it, a whole new year of Computer America. I believe that next February, just to kind of tell everyone about it, next February will be Computer America's 30th year on the air, so that will be exciting. Humble beginnings back in February 1991, talking about the latest in Xerox printers and floppy disks, and hey, look how far we've come. So everyone, don't be surprised. Don't be panicked next week or the week after when there's no new shows. We will be back, and hey, we'll have fun with it. So everyone, hey, I think that's enough morning announcements. Let's go ahead, bring on our guest, and get the conversation started. So as I said before, Hearo.Live, Hearo.Live, if you'd like to check out their service and their website. But we highly recommend that you stick around to, take a listen to Mr. Edward Lerner, and he goes by Ned. So Ned Lerner is, of course, CEO of the company, and he is a video game pioneer in his own right, really being the director of engineering for, PlayStation 4, as we, talk about the PlayStation Network a little bit, and we're very happy to have him back on the show. Ned, welcome back onto Computer America. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you, and how are you?
Not half bad. It's been a crazy
year. Yeah, very crazy. I'm looking forward to next year, I have to admit.
Yeah, it's and really, so much has changed since you've been on, with the adoption of so many new services and technology that I think that people were, a little on the fence about, and we've all had to change the way that we entertain ourselves. More viewing from home, socially distancing, all that good stuff, and of course, the large events and venues. I think that Hearo.Live was, really founded on and tried to capture. those events are still months away from coming back, but we've seen instances of, let's say, people hosting these things, viewing parties online through different services, through video games themselves. I mean, I just have to ask, how has Hearo.Live kind of handled the transition into COVID?
I'm thinking three different things. I first of all, before I brag about me, I have to say I know there's so much hardship out there that unfortunately we were set up to cure social isolation before COVID. So when COVID hit, it's like, this might actually not be bad for us. So I feel guilty about that, but that is the reality.
Solutions for immediate problems. I mean, that's definitely a good place to be. Like, at least you have the company in the technology to solve the issue before.
And in we just launched a brand new version yesterday, which brings Hearo to Macintoshes and Windows, and we've already had it on iOS and Android with a specific goal of, hey, it's the holidays and you can't see your brother, sister, cousin, uncle. Why don't you can watch Netflix with them, you can watch football with them, it's a virtual couch for you and your family. So so I'm just hoping we can do a little bit to make the world a little happier place the next couple of months. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. We're not out of it, but I think that a lot of people have, kind of gotten over the idea that this is just going to blow over in the short term. And like I said, there's going to be long-term changes to the industry, and I think you're in a good place to kind of to jump in on that and, fix what people are wanting, which is, again, kind of safety and entertainment. Let's face it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think everybody's missing other people. They're missing doing fun things, movies, sports games. And as you say, the world will return to normal, but never quite the same. I mean, I can't think of how many Zoom calls I've been on and all that.
Yeah.
So all sorts of people who are like, I just do it in real life. It's like, well, actually, how about you take a year-long break? And when you come back, maybe you don't have to go to work 5 days a week. Or maybe if you don't want to sit in the bleachers, you can watch at home and get the same experience. So for us, it's been like a 5 or 10 years, like jump ahead into the future. Hope you're ready.
Yeah. And that's what we've heard from a lot of people, is that the services that are really capitalizing on the shift with COVID are trends that were already happening, and COVID just simply accelerated the adoption rate. Why don't we start with the beginning and kind of get the way beginning? Give us a bit of your background, and then we'll get into what made you decide to start Hearo.Live.
Oh, excellent. So my joke is I'm an OG original gamer. I wrote the game that Electronic Arts based their IPO on in 1987. I'm actually wondering if I might have been on Computer America like 25 years ago, because my memory is not perfect. But I've been doing it even longer than you guys. So probably pretty unusual in this day. The first game I worked on was Chuck Yeager's Advanced Flight Trainer, and I actually got to work with Mr. Yeager, who made it to, I think, 96 or 97. He just died. So there was a burst of my social network of people recalling our working together at Electronic Arts. So that interesting times. And then that sort of enabled me to change from me and my computer to hiring people. I hired some smart guys, did a company called Looking Glass, which did some of the early 3D games. Same time period as like Wolfenstein 3D and Doom kind of thing. So as it turns out, the people who did those games, a lot of them are like running these VR companies like Cormac. And so my old buddies are now went from early 3D to early VR. Big shock, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then did a startup called Multitude, which was one of the first internet game companies. The very start of Internet.1. I'm laughing because we did a game that was a lot like League of Legends 10 years before them, and it failed. It failed because our users were still on modems and there was no digital distribution. So it's like, good idea, but
56K, 56 KB is not good enough for that real-time reaction, right? But
it almost was. It almost was. So we ended up pivoting from this a game called Fire Team to a thing creatively called Fire Talk. And Fire Talk was one of the first million user internet voice conferencing services. And that I got to participate in the crazy Internet One thing. So we were on the verge of an IPO, and then people decided that the internet was not really going to be as big a deal as they thought, and everything went poof, including my company. Though, I'm hoping we're not 10 years ahead of our time this time. So I'm gonna just keep smiling. And I ended up working for Electronic Arts as the chief technical officer at Maxis, working on The Sims, which was like my favorite game and my favorite company and my first corporate job. So that wasn't necessarily my favorite thing, the corporate part of it.
The Sims was one of my favorite games growing up, and of course, The Sims Online was, I put a lot of hours into that.
Oh, really?
As well.
I was one of the team that Electronic Arts brought in to make sure The Sims Online didn't do what your opening game is doing, which, hey, I've heard it's much better on the PC, but I've heard the PlayStation version is particularly I'm sure they'll get it fixed in a month. They'll fix it quick.
And of course, you're alluding to CyberPunk and that whole deal, and that whole thing happened just yesterday morning. And I mean,
shocking at some level.
Yeah, you've been in the industry, and just to hear that a AAA game that has had, let's face it, 8-9 years of kind of hype around it to get pulled within a week, that was, as you said, incredible. Unprecedented.
Amazing.
It's different,
amazing.
But yeah.
Good. So, that being said, I'm proud of PlayStation for saying, okay, to get your money back. And I guess my sense is in a couple months, it'll be good. So it's just, sorry, 8 years wasn't enough. We needed 8.5.
I guess.
I actually, game making is one of those, you don't want to know how the sausage is made businesses. It's really super hard. So I have tremendous empathy for anybody who's in that position of it's time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's and like I said, the amount of hype and what I think people thought they were going to get, that's just not the level that video games are at right now. It was
getting there.
Yeah. It's something getting there. And so of course, continuing on with your background. So, we're about the time with The Sims, Maxis, EA, all that good stuff. So where do we go from there?
And then PlayStation for 13 years and did a lot of, great company, great people, and got to do my dream projects. Hey, what if I worked on the best game console in the history of mankind? It's oh, sure, I'm in. What can I do to help people? I'm here. So that was
PlayStation great. Was certainly that. But then you decided to deviate and starting your own company again. What was your idea there?
I think I lost my mind. Sorry, I can't take life. I've gotten this. My business career is all based on game playing, so I still have a somewhat odd view of the universe. Don't people just do the thing they like to do at 13 for the rest of their lives? I guess maybe some basketball players do.
There you go.
I mean, some people do. You got a certain amount of luck involved, but I love multiplayer games. We were one of the pioneers in them. And I'm looking at my Netflix and my TV. I'm like, why can I play all my games with my friends and talk and hang out? And then as soon as I switch to something like a movie, I'm by myself. Why can't I bring that game technology to everything? But hey, at least to the things that I'm already watching on my PC or my laptop or my phone. So it's let's do that. Let's take that game tech and move it over to everything. So that sounds like a good idea. And then you got to figure out how to do it. That's a little bit harder. But the key is taking it from multiplayer games. So when you play a game, you really feel like you're hanging out on a couch with your friends because you're totally wired up. I can see your picture. You're wearing the headset, you got the microphones, and you're planning and doing stuff that you're talking a lot.
Of course. And
with my kids, their idea of a good time is hanging out playing Call of Duty together. I was I'm going to go see my friends. Well, what does that mean? That means I'm going to the PS4 and putting on a headset. It's oh, okay, whatever. But so thanks to my background, I had the sort of happily the right set of technical skills to say, okay, I know how video works, know how internet conferencing works, know how multiplayer games are organized. We can put these pieces together, and boom. A mere 3 years later, we've popped out this thing called Hearo, which I think is the best on the market for watch parties because it's designed from the point of view of, hey, this is a really nice multiplayer game, as opposed to, I wonder if a watch party might be a good idea. It's like,
well,
let's spend some more money and time and just totally nail it. So
yeah, let's talk about and you know, I think that's where some of the best ideas come from. Of course, is that you see a need unfulfilled, and you're like, hey, I can kind of fill that that gap. And I wanted to kind of get your opinion on why why do you think that you had to do this with Hearo, and why not, ESPN, and looking at your website here, YouTube, ESPN, we'll talk about the different services. Why haven't they made that easier? Because obviously, I've even seen some technology that will kind of like they want to put like cameras and sensors in your house, and they want to make it even more difficult for multiple people to watch the same content on the same TV. Like that's the way I've seen the industry kind of leaning, and here you are trying to get more people to watch the same content together. Why do you think the industry hasn't really solved this yet? Is it all about licensing and money? Is it all about just it's not really their prerogative? Why do you think?
Great question. I wish I had a beautiful answer for you. So before COVID, I can tell you, we pitched all sorts of people, and they're like, "Yeah, we don't care."
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's really simple, but that's like they're making money, they're happy, things are growing. Particularly if you're a Netflix or an Amazon Prime, it's like you're cranking. It's like, things are good. When the future comes, we'll worry about it later. And then COVID hit, and it's like, particularly for anybody based on the live performance business, which is music and movie theaters and even esports and games. A lot of the money from esports comes from people like coming into the physical event, and suddenly everyone like freaks out. It's like, oh my gosh, our revenue went to zero.
And the convention space, I mean, CES 2021 is coming up, and that is strictly online. Right. And you can really tell it's they're really scrambling to kind of figure out how to put on a large event and venue. A large event without a venue, essentially.
Right. So I won't say timing was perfect for us, but that being said, it's like, well, this is, we weren't designed to combat, transmissible illnesses, but we're designed to give people a virtual world they can watch shows in. And, people can do that in a multiplayer game, and people have done amazing things in that environment. But what if you just want to watch NBC football or ESPN, or you want to watch a movie on Netflix? Like, so we've been racing essentially to get everything to work. So
Gotcha.
It required us to create a smart TV in software, and smart TVs, you can get those little sticks for like 30, 40, $50.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not but your phones might be $500 and your computer might be $1,000. They're a lot better in terms of hardware than those little tiny sticks, but they don't have the software to let you watch to do it. And so we did it not to save you the $40 in the little stick, but to make it possible to then say, okay, I'm not watching by myself. I'm watching with 2 people, 10 people. We just upped it from 20 to 50 people. And when you watch, like we are today, we're all hooked up by microphones, so you can watch and talk. It's almost feels exactly like you're in your living room and the lights are turned off, and you're watching whatever you want. You can change the channel, you can fast forward and stuff, but now you're talking to everybody else who's like sitting on the couch with you. So,
Yeah, definitely having that social aspect that is really the cornerstone of what Hearo seems to be about. Right. But then the other part, of course, comes in the technology, and it has to be simple. It has to be easy. And, if there are too many hurdles, I can imagine people will be like, you know what, forget it. We'll all watch our own thing and just not do it. How much work, or I guess, maybe what were some of the beginning ideas and kind of what has evolved? How is that working, and how does it work now, I guess, to connect?
Yeah. So we just keep marching on. So one of the things coming from the world of games, the only reason people play games is it's fun and easy. Nobody makes you play a game. Nobody teaches you how to play a game. It just has to work. So that was our attitude going in. It has to be this fun, simple user experience. And it made a lot harder on the engineers because they had to put all the pieces together like in a way that you wouldn't even notice. But that's what we try to do to make it. And we've been calling it multiplayer TV. And the reason we've been calling that is the TV is like the world's simplest device to implement, to use. At least it used to be. You used to get the remote control, you could change the channel, you could change the volume, done. It's like, wow, what a fantastic interface. So in our app, we've tried to keep it super simple and clean, and just the voice just works. If you want to watch Netflix, you tap the Netflix button, you go to the Netflix website, you tap on what you want to watch, boom, it starts. So yeah, hopefully our pain of engineering makes it easier for people to just sit back and enjoy it. So
Definitely.
And maybe I shouldn't, but your question about why isn't everybody else doing it? Well, like I said, for a long period of time, nobody cared. And then when they do care, it's not that it's too late, but it's a hard project. It's like, you can't just fix it in 3 months or 6 months. We spent 3 years. And while COVID has been nastier and longer than we think, we're still trying to I wish we were 6 months, ahead, so that when COVID hit, we were ready. But we've been racing. So I think
Right.
it's just a matter of time. Is the short answer. An example. Once we show people how to do it, we're going to either end up with partners or competitors. And obviously I prefer the partner thing, but yeah, they thankfully we're a good chunk ahead right now. So that that hopefully will lead people to partner with us instead of competing. And one thing we can do as an outside company is Amazon has a party app, and Hulu has a party app, and Disney has a party app, and none of them know about any of the other ones, and none of them, and they're all kind of minor league efforts in the sense that there's like this little tiny fraction of the business where since this is all we do, we aggregate everybody together. So it's like a smart TV, and then we can put in tremendous effort to make it work super well, because that's all we do, right? It's not like this little extra add-on feature to Netflix. This is like, we live or die by whether people have fun, using Hearo. So,
Right.
And that's why startups generally have a shot of competing against the big guy, because the big guy's got their business. And then maybe they're thinking about something new or not, and the little guy's like, okay, this is our existence. If we're not the best, we're toast. So
Right.
Anyway,
Because they can
theory.
specialize. No, it makes perfect sense. And I was just thinking that, through, let's say, the Amazon, Prime Video Watch Party, things like that, for the end user, that's great if you want to watch something through Amazon. But, there's a lot of content that is not on Amazon, and, Hulu has theirs. And you are working to kind of, like you said, be that social meeting ground, and then you go out and find the content that you want to watch, instead of finding the content you want to watch and then trying to drag everyone into that ecosystem. That I guess would be a great selling point, is again that you have one place to go to.
For us, since we started with multiplayer games, we started with voice technology. So instead of you typing, and in our surveys, we didn't meet a single person who wanted to watch Netflix and type. We met lots of people who wanted to watch Netflix and talk. So, but that's a much more complicated engineering problem. Since you do radio, you can imagine the feedback issues between your TV blasting out football and you.
Yeah, if they're using especially if they're using the same speakers, then like on mobile, absolutely.
So that was another little technical barrier we had to crack. So and again, if you're in a rush, you can't. You got to take the shortcut and do it the simple way. But the simple way is just not what people want. They want the nice, the nice one, nice way. So.
And of course, I wanted you to, kind of take it from there and talk about kind of how this actually works from an end user standpoint. If you feel like, kind of walking us through getting the app and then downloading and sharing it with friends, and then, kind of how it actually works for our audience.
Okay. It's always fun to explain an app in by either writing up something or talking about something, because like, no, just try it.
It's easier to show.
Actually
Absolutely.
simpler to do it than, but I guess the steps would be, if you go to Hearo.Live, you can pick what you want, the iOS version, the Android version, the Mac version, the Windows version. You download it. It'll ask you for your name. You type it in. We don't need an email address. We don't need you to register. We just need a name so people know what to call you. Mm-hmm. And then it'll show you a screen that gives you a choice of Netflix, Amazon Prime, Disney, YouTube, blah, 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 or the top 20 American TV stations. So we've purposely tried to hit all the sports stations. So we've got ESPN 1, 2, 3, Fox Sports, NBC Sports. So you click, you can start watching whatever you want, and then you send a link to your friends to invite them. So if you've ever used like Zoom and there's that magic link you need to get in, we have the same kind of magic link to get into us. And you can send the link first and then pick the show, or pick the show and then send the link, or change your mind. You can add people to the show. You can invite up to 50 people. So you can just send out more links. You can change the show in the middle. You can fast forward and scrub. So it's this, it's the way I kind of describe it. It's like everybody's on, you got your TV, you've got one person with a remote control, so they can control everybody else's smart TV, and you're all hooked up in a high quality voice conference, so that it's, like I said, we're trying to capture that couch experience. So
no, that makes perfect sense. And of course, I wanted to ask about, when you invite other people, how quick is the onboarding process? Because I'm assuming like you can text someone the link, or, kind of send it somewhere else. Do they have to have an account with you? And I'm assuming that they do, but then, kind of how quickly can someone go from not even knowing about Hearo to watching with their friends?
Let's see. So Hearo is all app-based. We needed to go app-based to get the features people wanted.
Gotcha.
So there are some sort of website-y things, and they just don't work as well because they can't really do everything that an app can do. And so I guess, so if you send somebody a link, it does a little bit of magic so that it'll take you to the store, whether it's iOS or Android or our homepage, and then it'll wait for you to install. You just need your name. You don't need a full account. So you need to type in a name, and then you should be popped into the party. So it probably takes a minute, maybe a little longer on the Macintosh, because the Mac has like extra permission things, but it's pretty easy. We're trying to make it easy, that's for sure. But yeah, the phones are really good about installing apps. I worry that people, in the old days, people did lots of installing of apps, and now I don't know if people even know how to install apps anymore on their Windows devices or Macs, but it's pretty easy. It's just not quite as smooth as installing them on your phone.
Yeah. I see right here, download for Windows, and of course you can also use it in your web browser, but like you said, it was primarily made for apps.
Sort of a miniature version in the web browser, which if you want to watch YouTube together is great, because the thing that you can't do from the web browser is access protected content. Because the web browser is designed to protect you and the content. So if you want to get to Netflix, you have to use the app, and then you go through the Netflix authentication.
Right.
So and some people have asked, like, is it free to watch Netflix? No, it's not free to watch Netflix. It's, if you already have a Netflix account, it's the app is free, but Netflix isn't free. So sorry, we're not pirating Netflix for you. That's not a good idea.
That was the next thing I wanted to get into, because obviously, some people might be thinking that, hey, if one person has Netflix, then I can share it with my closest 50 friends or 100 friends. So people seem to...
Good for them, not so good for the business.
Right.
They're going to get a little letter from your friends at Netflix saying, please stop doing that. That's
so talk about permissions, and I see one of the questions we have here is about kind of football, and watching sports is notoriously difficult, to kind of bypass not being allowed to, like, you have to pay for some kind of service. Luckily, live sports is getting easier to watch online, either through ESPN subscriptions or things like that. So again, kind of to talk about how you can watch protected content online with other people.
Right. So Hero watching sports is a lot like you're watching sports in your web browser or your phone's browser. So you can literally type in ESPN.com, and then if you want to get to the good stuff, it's going to say, tell me the name of your provider, your cable TV provider, and it's going to give you a list. And there's like 5 big ones in the US and like 500 small ones. So you'll have to pick your provider. I've got AT&T TV, which thankfully is one of the ones at the top because it's A and because it's AT&T.
There you go.
And then it's going to say, okay, who are you? What's your password? And about 3 seconds later, you're watching. So you need a cable provider, which I think about half of American households have. But
you are covering your bases by having, of course, traditional cable, kind of football and things like that. But the industry is also kind of, maybe through COVID or just cord cutting in general. Right. More and more live events and sports and whatnot are moving to, like, let's say YouTube TV or right. These other services. So the industry is meeting you halfway, I think.
Yeah, one of the things I find interesting is that as much as you can watch like NBC on the internet, it's pretty, they don't care a lot. I hate to insult anybody about anything because, like I said, I've been there and there's always reasons why things are good or bad. It's not because people aren't trying hard their best. But man, I remember trying to watch the Olympics on NBC a few years ago. It was like just so many screens and so many dead ends. It's like, so again, since we wrote our own smart TV, it's like there's just an NBC button, click.
Yeah.
there's not like finding the magic place in the website. It's like click. So if you know what channel the thing is on, you're golden in the world of Hearo. There's just a bunch of channel buttons and you click them. You don't have to do, which is again like a TV. That's how it works. So
right. It's what it should be. It really is.
Yes, things should be simple.
Definitely. So, and of course with, so you invite your friends, you're good to go, everyone has the app, everyone is logged in, they, kind of prove that everyone can be watching this. Are there any restrictions when it comes to, I guess, kind of time spent watching, or I know that you said that you just went from 20 to 50, which is great. So that's, up to 50 people.
50's
but
a big party, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know if you had 50 people over your house to watch anything. I think of my personal is about maybe 14 to watch the Oscars. That's a big group. So the 50 is, we're starting to think about things beyond friends hanging out together. Like, hey, I've got like my running club. I'm in a running club and they have like movie nights and there's 500 people in the running club. It's like, okay, well, in that case, we're starting to be like a mini movie theater, not just a living room. So that's kind of where we're going. We want to go from living rooms to movie theaters, eventually back into stadiums for our friends. And
I got to say that when it comes to voice communication, above 50 would probably get, and really even around 50 is the upper end.
50 is crazy. 50 is crazy. It's really practically 10, 12 is where,
yes.
Where you don't need to mute a lot of people.
But of course, 50. But of course, 50 would be enough for, let's say, I remember back in college, I had to do, I took Theater 101, Gen Ed. You had to do what you had to do, and I guess in the day of COVID, you wouldn't want to do that. But our Theater 101 class had like 80 people in it, and I'm just saying that maybe for like a large classroom, something like Hearo would be pretty good for getting 50 of the students in there and being able to discuss.
I mean, I say this, I remind people all the time, is like you can put 200 or 300 or 400 people in a room without muting them. It's called a theater, and you just have to. They have to be polite. That's all. It's like, don't talk over the actors, but you can go crazy when they finish their lines. I mean, you can applaud, cheer, stomp your feet.
There you go.
Even though it's 50, and I wouldn't recommend conversation, but it's great for cheering and applause.
Right.
So it's such a weird way of thinking of the future that I generally kind of leave it to the end to remind people, like, actually, the future is the past. Live. Up to not that long ago, the only way to have entertainment was in person. It's only been in the last 100 years that there's this concept of like a radio transmitter or something. So it's like, yeah. And then once everybody's in person, there's no mutes. It's all live, folks. And in my mind, that's the experience. That's what attracted us to this in the first place. And as we've marched through this journey, we're like, okay, we're 2/3 of the way back to the starting point of like, stadiums and theaters that actually, and because it's a virtual theater, we can actually put in mutes and restrictions. So it's simpler, in some ways safer than a physical venue. So,
right.
But just more work for me and my engineers. That's all.
Yeah, you definitely have your work cut out for you, and obviously, you're going to have to please the kind of the end user, but also the content providers. It's going to be a double-sided effort. And I got to ask you, what are, aside from what you've already mentioned, have there been any big challenges or obstacles that you've really had to overcome in bringing this to the App Store?
I would say there's definitely been obstacles, but there's also been like good things, right? There's bad things and good things. Say, if you're lucky, you get more good things than bad things. So I don't want to entirely focus on the bad things.
Right.
We basically we built a prototype, showed it to people, and they all said, I want to watch Netflix and I want to watch TV. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. So that was 2 years ago. So that's been a lot of my last 2 years. Like, how do we turn your laptop to do the same thing that smart TV does? Like, okay, well, on the good side, we've gotten a lot of support from the world. We were doing an equity crowdfunding campaign on a thing called Republic. And
how'd that go?
It's kind of like, it's crowdfunding. So we have 1,800 investors in Hearo now, and I expect to go over 2,000. And that's basically let us build all this cool stuff. So thank you, world, for believing in us and putting, the average check size I think is about $200, but it varies from 100 to 50,000. So Republic has been a blessing. And also on the way before that was we got into 500 startups, which again was like, I tell my universal advice to entrepreneurs is if you can get into a good accelerator incubator, you should. They're great. The trouble is the odds are like 1 in 50 or 1 in 100. So, okay, great advice, but I'm not sure but yeah. So like I said, we get some lucky breaks. I hate to call COVID a lucky break, but in the case of, hey, all right, how do you watch football with your friends? Well, you invite them over your house. Okay. Seems like how are you going to beat that? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, never mind.
It's not really think about COVID as a good thing, but it's really a good thing that your service was in a position to, to provide again a service that people are looking for, and that is to reconnect. I think really everyone spends the first 3 or 4 months in their home just kind of talking to people on the phone and texting people, but that's not, it's not really hanging out. That's not. Being together.
It's not social. It's not social.
Right.
And,
but this definitely is. This definitely is. So, and again, congratulations on all the funding. That's awesome that so many people definitely see your vision. And I guess, again, kind of seeing is believing, being able to go out to the App Store, download it yourself, and just start using it seems to be the biggest convincer.
Yeah. There's the things that do well in the world of crowdfunding are like games and things like sports drinks and really practical stuff that people can relate to themselves. So so we fit into that really well. It's like everybody watches. A lot of people want to watch with other people. Hey, look, help us. We want to do what you want to do. So that's been great. So I'm not offering you anything, but let's say if someone like and I could totally see your service being partners, which like you said you wouldn't be opposed to, but also being just straight up absorbed. I mean, Facebook purchased one of the first virtual reality companies out there with the headset and the rig and the Oculus. Right.
Would do you think a service like yours would be a really good fit for, let's say, a social media company?
Well, we're certainly hoping to return to, our investors 10 or 100 times their money, or 1,000 if we can figure out how to do that.
Of course.
So, being acquired at a good price is a lovely outcome. an IPO at a better price is an even more lovely outcome. There's not a lot more people get acquired than go IPO. It's IPO is a tough route.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would, we want to be something a lot of people use and a lot of people love. And if you want a kind of a slightly nerdy answer, the big
Sure.
tech companies have lots of smart engineers, and the people, I think it's more like, if we did get acquired, it's probably somebody who's more on the content side, who doesn't have, I'll call them PlayStation quality engineers on staff, because that's, they don't make software for a living. So, it's, so it might be, a Comcast or a Netflix or a Disney. It's possible that it could be a Google and a YouTube or a Facebook or something.
Right.
Those are the kind of problems I love to have. Oh, big companies want to buy you. Oh, okay. Well, how much?
So many
someday perhaps that will happen.
So many suitors that you could definitely fully integrate yourself. Yeah.
But that being said, my sense is multiplayer games have totally changed the game business and grown it and made it up and made it more fun. So now games aren't just this thing you waste time on. This is the way you hang out with your friends. And we believe multiplayer TV will maybe not do it as much as it did to games, but for games, it's like totally taken over, where, I can believe that a third of the time you'll watch with your college roommates, your family, your friends. And watching is way bigger business than playing. Watching is like 15 times as much eyeballs, as much money. So if a third of people change their watching behavior from single player to multiplayer, that's bigger than the entire game business combined. So it's like, this is let's work hard, folks. Let's make this happen.
Yeah, and really, I gotta say, as someone who consumes a lot of Twitch, kind of seeing that experience, and I've gotten other people into watching it as well. That just watching it, maybe not even with their friends, but just in general, which is something I wanted to ask you about. Just kind of general viewing parties instead of specifically people that you know. But that's something that, especially during COVID, I've heard my friends say that. Ever since you turned me on to Twitch, or I started watching, YouTube gaming or one of these other sites, it feels less lonely. And even though you don't know the people in there, you at least see other real people, typing messages, and you see the streamer reacting to other people and having a conversation. It's almost like being at a party, but like you're just kind of standing off to the side. You're still getting the social aspect of it, but and yes, you can, if you want to, you can influence what you're watching directly. So I am completely with you. It is a different kind of viewing experience, and one more people need to get into. But also that other thing I mentioned, any interest in maybe going back to like the AOL AIM days with lobbies and chat rooms and things like that. Any of the people that you've talked to and you've done funding,
I think I get,
yeah. And any interest in that?
Yeah. So, what can I say? We're with startups, you got to be careful because you don't have infinite resources or infinite time. So you got to kind of pick your steps in your battles. And so it seemed like we're almost, I know people want to watch sports with their friends and their college buddies. I know that. So let's do that now. But you're right. There's this other thing is like, hey, I like to go to the game. And when I do, I go to the stadium, and when I do, I'm happy to talk to the person sitting next to me because, so we're starting to experiment with that. Looks like we're going to pick K-pop for our first thing because with Hero, you can actually listen to K-pop with lots of other people. And that sounds really simple to do, but because we've got this interesting technology, we don't have to license every song. We just need to let you go to YouTube. And they worry about the license. So we can let people watch and listen to anything on YouTube or maybe someday SoundCloud, and then talk about it. And like I said, if you're a K-pop fan right now, you can go to forums and you can talk about K-pop and you can type about K-pop, but you can't listen to K-pop and talk about K-pop. So it's like, let's see what happens. And that's just one kind of random example, but yeah, I mean, I'm a nerd, and I used to go to science fiction conventions, and I'm kind of there's definitely communities that are, especially in these times, it's just, if you can give them an excuse to get together, whether it's like watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy or, watching the basketball draft, I think we do have a chance of having people like meet like-minded folks in the same way as my running club and stuff. And that's a really nice experience. It's just in the priority scheme, it's like probably step 2 or step 3. So we do it in a very simple way today. We let anybody label their thing public, and then anybody can show up. But that's a little too simple. We need a little bit more. Anyway, so someday we're working on it. There, no problem. Check it with you next year.
Yeah,
I'll have it next year.
Perfect. You are exploring it. That's that's a perfectly fine answer. And I wanted to, of course, talk next about. Let's see. I had it right here. It was not really what's next for Hearo. You know what? Let's go ahead and do that one. What's next for Hearo? Because you kind of touched on that, said that you're looking into that. Are there any other venues? Oh yeah, and the other one was kind of how you guys get paid, because so far you've talked about you pay for these other services and you want to watch them together. Come to Hearo, and Netflix getting a subscription doesn't exactly make you money. So I also wanted to ask, what's next and how do you get paid?
I think I'm going to go to how you get paid first, because it's not as open-ended. So we're in this happy state of investor-funded company like Facebook, like Google or Facebook the first few years. There weren't any ads in Google or Facebook for years. Now it worked out in the end, so I'm not going to feel bad for them. And so that's that's the simple investor strategy. You do something, you become the market leader, and then when you're big enough, then you can do anything from have advertising to having people like buy stuff through your thing and charge a fee. So so our plan is basically the standard social media playbook 101 stuff, but first is growth. At the same time, we are talking to some of the big sports leagues, and physical venues are really expensive. I mean, you can spend, $1 billion building a sports arena, and we're like, hey, how about renting how about a $10,000 a month sports arena that can hold 100,000 people? And so the hope is like for them, it's like, oh, no problem, $10,000 a month. That's like our electricity bill. So we see possibility both on the direct social media consumer side and in the theater rental business. And they're they use the same kind of user experience and platform, but they have very different back ends. So again, we can't do everything at once. We got to figure out which one we're doing first. We're getting, because of these weird times, we're actually getting a ton of interest in venue rental, but it's also, like every other answer, it's like, baby steps, feature, add, improve. Okay, now we're ready for you. So,
gotcha.
And I think maybe that kind of answered your first question, like what's the future? The future is maturing the basic user experience. I think it's pretty simple and pretty fun. And we got some ideas to make it even simpler and funner, but it's probably much more in the sense of how do we make Hearo a good place for content creators and content owners? Because now that we've got a good experience for people watching, we also want to be a good experience for people who are showing. And if we can do both of those things, then the magic happens. So at least that's the plan. Thank you very much. You've answered all my questions so perfectly and even expanded on them. You have been a model guest, and I recall having Hearo on earlier this year. So I was looking forward to this interview, and I'm glad that, I really, when I read that you guys were going to come back on the show, I was like, they're probably, pretty busy over there because they have a good product for this environment in this market. So well, we did, like I said, we released yesterday, and so when we did the scheduling, I'm like, I think we're going to release about now. I'll give myself an extra week just in case.
Yeah.
I lucked out.
Yeah, and actually, if you'd like to just kind of explain kind of what you released, because last time you were on the show, I think that you were still kind of experimental. You were on the App Store, but wasn't full featured. Describe exactly what the service is that you released yesterday.
Yeah. So yesterday, as you were just saying, everything goes through like months of experimentation and testing because that's the most efficient way to get there. So in other words, if you wait till everything to be perfect, you'll never be perfect. And so better, you get like 2/3 of the way there, and you start asking people to test it, and you learn, and you fix it. So yesterday we released the Macintosh and Windows app, which offers all the same features and services as the mobile apps have already. And then, so that was a big win, because a lot of people want to watch. The longer the stuff you watch, the bigger device you want to watch on. That's almost my sense. Like if you're going to watch for 2 minutes, a little phone in your hand is fine. You go to like 30 minutes and it's like, I don't want to hold it in my hand. I want at least a laptop. So to go to the longer form stuff like sports and Netflix, we wanted to get it onto people's PCs. And so that was a huge project that is now good enough to call release yesterday. It'll keep getting better, but hey, I think it's good enough. And
I'm sure it will.
And then over the preceding months, we've added in all the major US sports TV stations and a bunch of other TV stations because they weren't extra work. So in other words, if you get NBC, you get the whole NBC family. So if you get NBC Sports, you get the rest of the NBCs. And then we've also been busy basically supporting Netflix, Amazon Prime Videos, and Disney Plus. And we have certainly plans to keep marching down the list, and everything, it's software, so everything can just get better. Yeah. So it's like, as example of features, like when you watch something and you stop halfway through, when you pick it up, we want to make it so you pick up right where you left off, and that'll come in the next couple of weeks. Those kind of like nice to have features. Yeah,
definitely usability, because obviously, 50 people, and let's say, the features that you want for 2 people are not necessarily you want for 20, right. 50 people, like, being able to pause, because some mean person is going to be in that 50-person call, just pausing it constantly.
Well, so we have, the way we set it up is that every party has a party leader. The party leader is the ruler. You can suggest things. You can suggest things to the party leader, but they can either accept or reject your suggestions. So, again,
you've thought that out. That's good.
We've this isn't my first rodeo, as they say. So
you've played video games. You know how people can be. Yeah.
They're charming, lovely people, except when they're playing video games. In fact, the first game we did, I did like this early multiplayer game, Fire Team. People were so nasty. Oh my gosh. It was like being back in 5th grade, but worse. I was like, what terror have we unleashed upon the world? And it actually made me want to work for the Maxis and the Sims. Like, let's do dollhouses. That sounds so much nicer. Now, of course, dollhouses, I don't know how much Sims you played, but there's a bit of subversion in the Sims even. So it's like, you can't,
many a time have my Sims fallen victim to sudden walls and fires. Yeah.
Yes, I'm so purely accidental. I'm so sorry for them. But my wife, who's a lovely person and sweet, has recently realized that you can reply to people you don't like on Twitter, and she's become a troll. It's like, really?
Well, someone has to do it.
She thinks it's enforcing social norms. Like, hey, that's not, you shouldn't say that. So I'm going to tell you you're wrong. It's like, okay, I hope this phase doesn't last too long, honey. Anyway, people are interesting.
Yes.
People are interesting. It's a challenge. It's a challenge.
Good luck to her, because that is beyond a full-time job. You can spend your entire life
correcting the world from Twitter. I hope she has some free time on your hand.
And really, I got to say that you have your hands full on this as well, because like we said, there's so many different ways that you could take this, and sounds like you have an amazing team that is able to bring rapid development kind of to people. So I'm really happy, Ned, that you're able to join us and talk about this. I need to wrap this up because this is like the last show of the week, and I really want to talk about obviously the CyberPunk stuff and all that stuff. So but
I'm going to say one last super quick. I'm hoping next time we talk, we can provide you a live audience to your show, so you can hear the cheers and applause as you're doing this crazy stuff. So thank you.
And we
can dream. I can dream, right? It's okay.
That would be definitely different. But I want to thank you so much, everyone. Once again, Mr. Edward Lerner. He is, of course, the CEO of Hearo.Live. We'll have a link over computeramerica.com right there in the show notes to Hearo.Live. And Ned, there will definitely be a next time, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
All right, our pleasure. So, all right, and so Ned, if you don't mind, we're going to jump over here. So we're going to be very unceremonious and end the Zoom call, but we'll catch you next time. Have a great one. All right, perfect. And everyone, so computeramerica.com, we're going to do, now we're going to go ahead, jump over to computer and technology news. And that is, of course, brought to you by Computer America. Here we go. So our next story, our next segment is, of course, news, and we are going to have to jump right into this. I think this was the biggest one. There are a lot of great stories. If we don't get to them, we might put a couple up into the show notes for today, but let's at least talk about this one real quick. And CyberPunk 2077, if you didn't hear the big news last night, came out at like 6 p.m. My time. But yeah, CyberPunk 2077, Sony pulls the game from PlayStation while Xbox offers refunds. So this is not just the PlayStation Network, but Xbox, of course, went and followed suit. I think that a lot of people, as we said before, were expecting one thing, and CD Projekt Red delivered another. And, CD Projekt Red said that they were refusing to, as far as I can tell what the story was, they were refusing to issue refunds because they said that, it's under development, we're going to get these fixed. They felt the game was in a state that did not warrant refunds, but Sony Interactive Entertainment, they decided that was not the case. And of course, and Xbox has their own landing page over on their refund page to deal with this as well. But here was the message that PlayStation sent out saying, quote, SIE, Sony Interactive Entertainment, strives to ensure a high level of customer satisfaction. Therefore, we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased Cyberpunk 2077 via the PlayStation Store. So, if you purchase this through Steam or anything like that, you may have a bit of a harder time, but yeah, that's PlayStation seems to be the easiest way, and then Xbox will do the same, although Xbox said that they were not pulling it from the store. So, they said that we know the developers at CD Projekt Red have worked hard to ship Cyberpunk in extremely challenging circumstances. That was a Microsoft spokesperson. However, we realized that some players have been unhappy with the current experience on older consoles. And I think that some of the biggest issues they were experiencing were textures that weren't, projected correctly. PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, the game was not, I think, what you would call a finished state. And the game was definitely not what you expect a $60 to $70 game to be. So the publishers took it in their, well, not the publishers, the consoles took it into their own hands to issue refunds. So there you go. Let's see. So to rectify the situation, it said it was issuing, it being Microsoft, refunds to customers who have already requested one, and would be expanding refunds to anyone who purchased the digital Cyberpunk 2077 from the Microsoft Store until further notice. So let's go ahead and just say that obviously the game was originally announced in 2012, but then re-announced in 2018 and then showcased to huge fanfare, with, of course, Keanu Reeves being the poster child for 2019. The game reviewed well, with critics praising the gameplay and its visuals, despite many visual glitches and bugs, which are common in large open-world games and often patched in the after launch day. They said that those with the newest versions of the console, high-end gaming PCs, and others have not experienced the same level of issues, but I've even seen that myself. It was not optimized, and optimization obviously is very hard to do because there are thousands and thousands of different hardware setups that you can have. Not everyone is running the exact same PC, although to be fair, most people are running the exact same PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And of course things like visual hitching, visual quality drops, and slowdowns. Many people said it was unplayable because, let's face it, if it's an immersive RPG, that immersion is broken as soon as you that immersion is broken as soon as things start to glitch, and even in like a cyberpunk type of game, it's going to take you out of it. So with that being said, Microsoft says that while it considers all sales final, we understand there are many extenuating circumstances, and it considers several factors for refund requests. Pull from store from PlayStation Network. I'm sure it will be back soon, but everyone, that's about it for today, and best of luck to CD Projekt Red. Some of the stories we did not get to include Microsoft ending passwords as we know it, the United States targeted for its U.S. nuclear weapons by hackers, other stuff that is probably equally important. But everyone, until next time, have a great day. Thank you so much. See you here next week, everyone. Bye.